I remember this young, beautiful girl, this dark-haired girl came, and all of a sudden this young man came in with her. It's a spirit. And he seemed to be agitated as though he wanted to say something. And I said, I saw the letter J. I thought it was Joe. Then I said, who's Jody? And she said, oh. I said, you've got to tell his girlfriend. His girlfriend's still very sick. I could see her with a neck thing on. I could see he's concerned about her. She's got to stop blaming herself. So I have a strong feeling that they'd had a couple of words before he passed over, or she was beating herself up. But he seemed to want me to let her know and let everyone know he was okay.
And he proposed to me right around my birthday, which is in September, and he did that with a message in a bottle. And you have to understand that Jody did not have a romantic bone in his body. He was a motorcycle rider, you know, this tough guy, you know, he just was not romantic. So for him to do this was just out of character. And he had his sister plant this message in a bottle on the beach, and we walked along. I picked up shells, and she planted it in the ground there, or in the sand. And I walked along, and he's like, look at that, look at that. And I picked it up, and I'm like, oh, well, let's read it right now. And he said, no, you can't read it on the beach. You have to wait. And I'm like, wait? Why would you wait to, you know, read this message in a bottle? And he said, no, let's go back up to the house there, and you can read it up there. And, you know, that's how he proposed. So it was, you know, magical and wonderful, and, you know, really just out of character for Jody.
But to start telling you about how Elizabeth had a relationship with our family, then I do have to go all the way back. I have to go back to October 19th, 2002. They had come out of a restaurant. It was late. He lived less than a mile from that restaurant. They took a shortcut through a dark, unlit parking lot.
And we went by one island, and there was another island right by it, and we couldn't see, and the bike went down, and we hit the other island. And he died instantly, and I was rushed by helicopter to the trauma unit at Halifax. I didn't know until the following day that he had passed away.
And I was scared for the first time in my life. I didn't know where my son was. Wendy told me that he was around. She made me believe. She gave me books to read. But I wasn't reading them. And then one day she called me hysterical, and she said, Jody got in touch with us. Jody got in touch with us. I thought she had gone mad, honest to God. I thought she had just lost her mind. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said,
a friend of mine who I had worked with, her father had passed away, and some friends of hers, to bolster her spirits, had taken her to see Elizabeth. Only to my family, I had said a couple of times, do you think he knows how much I love him? And I just feel tremendous guilt over this accident. Do you think I've done something to cause this accident? Do you think I've done something to cause it? So when my friend went to her, she said, there's a young man coming through.
She was there to get a reading about her deceased dad. And as she's sitting there for that reading, Elizabeth is saying to her, who's the blonde? Who's the blonde? I have a young energy here. He's very strong. He wants to see her. They were in an accident. She started describing the accident scene, the motorcycle, everything. And it hit this young woman who she was talking about then.
She said, no, he's insistent. he showed me he passed on a motorcycle. And my friend said all the hair on her arms stood up and on the back of her neck.
The important thing to note is that this associate was not close to Wendy at that time. They were just working in the same office.
And my friend looked at her and said, "Tell me something. Is the person with blonde hair a male or a female?" And Elizabeth said, "Oh, female, dear. These two people loved each other very much, and he has a message for her." He said, "Yes. He knows how much she loves him, and not to feel guilt, because she has nothing to feel guilt over."
That Jody came through saying, "I need to speak to her. Tell her I'm sorry, and yes, I still love her. It wasn't her fault." She needed to hear that.
And I have to tell you that I felt such tremendous relief because I couldn't say goodbye to him. And I had sat there for weeks just staring off into the distance because I love him so much, and I can't tell you what relief it gave me. There's no way she could have known.
The most important thing was when I was getting up to leave. When I was getting up to leave, she held me back. And she said, "Your son is saying, stop counting the children. I am still your son. You still have 5. That was amazing because no one in my family knew how distraught, I ached to know how to answer the question, how many children do you have? I want him to still be my son here. But if he has to be there, I still want to count him." And that was significant because that had just been in my thoughts the night before I went to see her. She is the fix that I need. The shot in the arm, I can't imagine if she wasn't in my life.
I can't speak for other mediums and psychics. I can only speak from my experience. And my experience of the spirit world is there's no pain. There is no pain, and they don't feel pain. It's as though when I see some of these programs on TV, and I think, what are you about? That's not the way it is. That's not the way they show me the way they are. As long as you work from your heart, you can't harm anyone. And that's where it comes from, my heart.